evening. I'm Kevin Christopher.
And I'm Angie Bevan, in tonight for Nancy Cox. Thanks for joining us at 6. We are following breaking news in Lexington, where the coroner is on the scene of some sort of an accident at a construction site.
That scene is near the intersection of Squires Road and East Hills Drive on the city's southeast side. Alexa Helwig is there with the breaking details.
Good evening. I just got done talking with the coroner, and he's telling us that this was an accidental electrocution. Again, we are here on the intersection of Squires Road and East Hills Drive. I'm going to step out of here for a second and kind of show you the scene. The coroner is out here, Lexington Police and Lexington Fire, they're all out here on the scene right now. The coroner just told us this property that you're looking at, it used to be old apartment buildings, and there was a dump truck out here filling debris into a pit. As he was doing that, he raised the back of his truck up, and that's when his truck came into contact with these power lines that you can see, and that's when his truck became caught on fire. He tried to jump out, and then that's what when he ultimately did die. Right now, there are multiple power outages here. According to KU's website, they're telling us more than 2,000 people are out of power right now, and traffic lights are out. So there is traffic in the area. So if you are in the area, be ready to sit in some traffic as they get power back on. But once again, we are being told this is an accidental electrocution, and the coroner will, the body will be autopsied as it was a work-related death. We'll bring you more tonight on the news at 7 and 11. We're covering the news live in Lexington from the LEX 18 mobile newsroom. Back to you.
A storage building holding 20,000 barrels of bourbon partially collapsed this morning, causing a huge mess at Barton 1792 in Bardstown. LEX
18's Carolina Buchek has more from the distillery, and the big story is 6.
Everyone's still trying to figure out what exactly happened here at Barton 1792. They say a building, just imagine one like this, collapsing halfway down the middle. Now, the one that collapsed isn't exactly like this, but they say it's a wild sight. You can't really see it from the road. The best view is actually from above.
It looks like right down the center of it is where the collapse happened.
9,000 bourbon barrels scattered along this debris. The big question is, are they damaged? And right now, that's unclear.
You couldn't tell if there was any damage or any leaks. Of course, there was the smell of bourbon in the air, but that's kind of common in a warehouse facility.
The good news is no one was hurt when part of the building went down, but environmental workers are worried about the alcohol getting into the water.
Right now, we want to make sure that no alcohol got into any the ground or water streams in that area. They are checking that at this time, and right now everything looks good.
Now, the big job out here is making sure that the other half of that building, the part that is still standing, is secure, because there's lots of bourbon barrels in that as well. Covering the news in Nelson County from the LEX 18 mobile newsroom, back to you.
She was 18 years old when she seemingly disappeared into thin air. That was 5 years ago today. Tonight, Brooklyn Farthing's family is still looking for her. Lee Searcy has the story.
We want Brooke home so bad.
For 5 long, grueling years, Shelby Tillery has searched for answers, and she's still waiting for them.
You don't have an ending, so you don't know if she's still alive. You don't know if there's been foul play. You just know that she's missing, and you have no idea. She could be right next to you.
18-year-old Brooklyn Farthing disappeared in 2013 after attending a friend's birthday party. Later, her mother says she went to a home on Dillon Court in Berea, then vanished. The man who lived there at the time told police he left for a while, but when he came back, claims Brooklyn was gone. But his home was on fire. Early on, police didn't find evidence suggesting foul play. But Brooklyn's mother doesn't think they looked hard enough.
It was on fire, and she was there beforehand, so you would think thereafter they would have been immediately looking for her.
Tillery will tell you she doesn't believe Brooklyn is alive. She wants more than anything to find her. She hopes someone with a conscience will feel her pain and come forward.
All we can do is just pray that one day somebody's going to tell us something that's going to help us.
Covering the news in Madison County, Lee Searcy, LEX 18 News.
Farthing's family is offering a $14,000 reward for any information leading to Brooklyn and the person or persons responsible. Police in southeastern Kentucky are investigating after a man's body was found in a ditch this morning.
And the Knox County Coroner's Office tells us the body may have been there for days. The discovery was made around 11:30 in a deep ditch in front of some apartments on Stephen Trace Road in Barberville. The assistant coroner says the body is that of a man, but his name hasn't been released. Investigators say the body may have been lying in the ditch for 1 or 2 days. An autopsy will be performed to determine that man's cause of death. The trial for 2 men accused of murdering a Lexington Marine took a break today after 6 days of tense and emotional testimony. The defense asked for a mistrial yesterday, saying prosecutors broke the rules and showed the jury prejudicial evidence. If the judge would have granted that, 6 days of testimony would have been tossed, but the judge ordered the trial to continue. The defense had no choice but to call their own witnesses yesterday. The trial is expected to wrap up next week. One of Lexington's most infamous crimes, the Transy book heist, has been documented on film. The American Animals movie made its nationwide premiere today.
LEX 18's Michael Burke spoke with both moviegoers and the people who helped make this movie.
American Animals, please.
American Animals is finally in theaters, 4 years after filming began.
It's an intriguing story.
Who in Lexington wasn't intrigued by the 4 Transy students who tased and tied up the school librarian and then stole a first edition Charles Darwin book, among a few other priceless pieces? Their arrest coming when they tried to sell at auction.
A friend of mine that I went to church with, she was working also in the library at that time.
Sam and Lindsay Williamson met at film school in Nashville.
Yes, we can't wait.
The couple moved back to Lexington years ago, clearly having no idea when they started their production company they'd be hired to work on the film which documents the Great Heist.
I've really had some very interesting projects since we've come back. This by far, I think, the most interesting.
Simply because of the subject matter. 4 students who spent a while in jail following that failed attempt at such an odd crime.
They intercut between the actors talking and, the real guys finishing those sentences.
The real guys telling the real story on the silver screen. And it all happened in our backyard.
This is a very high quality project that was partially shot here and is set here. So that's something to be proud of.
Covering the news in Lexington, Michael Burke, LEX 18 News.
The movie premiered nationwide today, but the main Lexington premiere will take place tonight at Kentucky Theater beginning at 7:30 with a second showing at 9:40.
The University of Kentucky has found an artist to help contextualize a controversial old mural in Memorial Hall. The artwork, which shows slaves working in a field, was once covered, but officials decided to uncover it and present it with other art to provide historical context. Artist Karen Oliver's proposal was selected at today's Board of Trustees meeting. The action is pending approval from the Art in Public Places Committee. Work on the new piece is likely to start in late July and continue into early August.
Day where thunderstorms have been blossoming this afternoon. A couple of them have been pushing severe limits. One report of wind damage came out of Breathitt County with some trees down. Other than that, storms have been tremendous lightning producers, lots of heavy rain, wind gusts pushing 30 and 40 miles per hour. The first line of storms is now exiting into West Virginia. We're going to look at this line now going through Harrison County, Bourbon County, down toward Clark and Montgomery County. This is really intensifying here over the last about 15 minutes or so. Quite a few lightning strikes now associated with that, just north of Winchester, up towards, say, North Middletown. It gets now just east of Cynthiana. More rain. This is just a garden variety shower coming through Lexington at this point. As we've watched that line develop, it came from just a couple of clusters of storms that congealed into one solid line, and you see how it is tracking off to the northeast. You folks in Carlisle, Mount Sterling, storms are headed toward you. You get around Richmond, you see the storms there, and in fact, it's been raining fairly heavily eastern part of Madison County. You're looking at that storm there from our Kentucky One Health weather bug camera located at EKU, so you see that storm down into Rockcastle County. You folks there around Mount Vernon up to, say, Roundstone, back to Berea, and Casey County around Liberty, you're getting rain as well back to Clementsville, and one thunderstorm sitting over Corbin. We got more storms coming over the weekend, but not all weekend. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
All right, Bill, see you then.
More than 1,000 homeless men find a bed and a roof over their head every night at the Hope Center in Lexington.
But as summer begins, the charity says the need is even greater. As LEX 18's Claire Kopsky reports, the shelter's asking for your help with some donations.
These are some of the items that we hand out daily.
Soap, shampoo, deodorant, razors. The list is always long, but the supply is often short.
At the Hope Center, guys can come to the front desk and get things like soap, shampoo, deodorant when we have it, razors when we have it, This is probably a 2-day supply.
A 2-day supply that the Hope Center in Lexington often uses the Facebook community to help replenish. Yesterday was no exception.
We did put out a plea for hot weather items and first aid items.
Less than an hour later, someone responded saying supplies would arrive the next day. Today, $500 worth of Band-Aids, rubbing alcohol, Neosporin, and sunscreen arrived courtesy of Father Sitchko.
What people don't realize is that hot weather is just as unbearable for the homeless as very, very cold weather. And our 2 highest volume days last year were the 2 hottest days in the middle of the summer. So this is a time of year when we actually see an enormous amount of clients, and we do run through those donations very quickly.
When we have the donations, we set them out, we give them out. When we don't, people just have to wait.
Covering the news in Lexington, Claire Kopsky, LEX 18 News.
You can follow the Hope Center on Facebook to keep up with their needs, and their doors are open 7 days a week.
Last week's 3-alarm fire at Louisville's Kentucky Center for the Arts has already forced several cancellations, and now the Louisville Orchestra has announced they will not be able to perform an upcoming show. The orchestra wrote in a tweet they were canceling their performance of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That was scheduled for July 7th and 8th at the Kentucky Center's Whitney Hall. They cite ongoing cleanup and repair efforts for their decision. They said they will contact ticket holders individually.
Experiencing the best Kentucky has to offer, all in one place. That's the goal of a new project underway at Hermitage Farm in Oldham County.
Coming up at 6, watch how the historic farm will be changed into a tourist destination.